Good evening and welcome to Resurrection Parish's YouTube channel. Tonight we're going to join a conversation between Jesus and Judas. Let's join them now live.
Well, Jesus, why did you want to see me after all that's happened? Aren't you satisfied I took care of things myself? After all, I didn't make such a mess of things, betraying you as I did, and delivered you to your enemies. After realizing what I had done, I said I was sorry, but that wasn't enough. I get the sense that sorrow doesn't change anything.
You are right, Judas. There are things that do not change. I did not ask you here to torment you. After all, you were one of the chosen. Despite my disappointment in your actions, I still have love for you.
Really? How could you still love me? That's the last thing I want to hear. All that does is add a millstone around my neck. Don't you realize that as your betrayer, love is the last thing I want to know about? I'm an abject failure, and your love's a cruel reminder of that failure. Go away. I have enough pain without your love punishing me further.
My, oh my, Judas. This has been the crux of it for you over these last 3 years. I tell you that I love you, and you react by saying it is more than you could bear. But you shared in that love and fellowship for 3 years, yearning for it with all your being.
Well, it wasn't enough, evidently, because if I truly loved you, I would not have betrayed you. After all, betrayal is not an act of love, it's an act of treachery. You can't deny the logic of that, Jesus.
Judas, betrayal is the sin of love against love. Unlike other sins, betrayal uses love to destroy what is loved. This is why betrayal does not end a relationship, why you cannot put an end to our relationship by yourself. Forgiveness for the act of betrayal seems impossible if betrayal is the final act. Yet betrayal is not the end of love. You hate yourself because you love me. You betrayed me because you love me. So how can I offer you anything less than love if the very source of
the cause of my torment and the source of my betrayal? You chose me. I didn't choose you. You called me to be your disciple.
In that you are correct, Judas. I chose you because you were given to me by my Father in heaven.
Yeah. You were talking about the coming kingdom. I was very excited. I thought we were going to bring it all about. Take one that I'm not sure to this moment I understand.
You had a desire to serve God, which was mixed with a desire for things in the world as you would like them to be. Do you think you are the first human to face this contradiction, Judas? Really? Judas, were you not drawn to me along with the others by the power of my Father who loves the world?
Now we're getting down to the bare knuckle facts, Jesus. You say drawn. I say at this point I was seduced by a power I didn't quite understand. And that sealed my destiny here on earth forever. On one hand, I regret meeting you. Left to my own ways, I would have been a living failure, at least on my own accord. In all likelihood, living in obscurity with my own fanatical, zealot sensibilities, unmatched by any ventures of politics that I might have attempted. At night, I would boast about my next attempt at failure. But no, you called me to come and follow. And when you think about it, I even failed at that too.
Judas, lighten up a bit. Don't you see I understand failure? The other disciples failed as well. They were scattered like sheep without a shepherd. I was left alone. You had each other, even in your failure.
Oh my. Jesus, do you know that I went to the others after betraying you? I begged their forgiveness. They said that the devil had entered into me. They blamed me for everything that happened the rest of that week. But you knew this. You knew this was going to happen. So why did you decide to call me as one of the 12? You say you chose me because your Father in heaven gave me to you. Iscariot, the man who betrayed you, and answered a prayer, that's rich. If I could laugh, I would. But the reality is I'm closer to tears.
Judas, perhaps that is one of the problems. I am not sure when we gathered to pray, you ever really grasped the fruit of it. I did not pray so that every decision might be to my advantage, but so that I might incarnate every decision as affirmed by the Father who loves me. You are indeed an answer to my prayer and a cog in the eternal plan. That is why I loved you and washed your feet on the very night you betrayed me.
Why didn't you stop me then, or at least expose me as a traitor?
I knew, but I sought your love for me by sharing my love for you. I have prayed for you, Judas, that your love might return and that you might be healed.
Oh, I've prayed too, but no answers came. I guess it's true that if you cannot for all that, it would seem that death was the final act of mercy for me. It delivered my soul from the mess of my life, given my inability to grasp faith, to hold on to love, and to abide in hope. And now, in this conversation, you've opened that door again. You've awakened all of those old feelings, but none that are new.
My old friend, our God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Because I live, you also shall live.
Oh, yes. I remember out in Bethany, you taught us all of that. But I killed the faith and tore the star of hope out of the dark night sky, leaving a gaping wound in me and humanity that will never heal.
And I have come to you through that tear in the fabric of despair, to touch your life again with healing grace and divine love.
Jesus, certainly there are limits even to God's grace, and I, of all persons, have passed beyond that limit. Let's be honest. My name will be remembered without pity. My act of betrayal is my epitaph, and no one weeps for me.
Judas, you are very complex. You were angry at me because I didn't accomplish what you had wished for in Israel. Now you're disappointed because no one weeps for you. It is quite understandable that you feel sadness for what might have been and despair over the irretrievable loss of your life. But I wanted to meet with you to remind you that sin and death do not have the final say.
You speak of healing and hope as though there was still time for me. But time has come to an end for me. One act of betrayal, like a drop of blood, has spread to the clear water that was my life, contaminating all of it. I poured it out on the ground. Never again can it be recovered. And if it could, it would only be tainted with the blood of betrayal anyway.
Judas, you are learning what all humans, past, present, and to come, struggle with. It is not easy to follow when your own desires are not those of your master. I struggled with that with my own father, but I remained faithful and did not lose my life, but gained it by living a life for others. What counts, Judas, is not our foolish choices, but my Father's gracious calling. My choosing of you counts more than your betrayal of me.
Oh, even this moment, Jesus, I try to deny the feelings of love that I have for you. That's why my betrayal hurts so much. How could our relationship ever be the same again?
We can never return to our innocence, but the love that has suffered love is not a crippled love. It can be healed and made a stronger love.
You speak as though we had a lover's quarrel. I went beyond that, beyond denial, even unfaithfulness. I burned the bridge that made our relationship possible. I cut the cord that bound my heart to yours and my hand to heaven. Really, Jesus, there's no way back.
That is true. There never was a way back. There is only a way forward. The past can only be returned to us out of the future. Love is greater than faith and hope because it can heal faithlessness and cure hopelessness.
In a way that I don't understand. You place my act of betrayal and even death by my own hand between us as something that can be forgiven. You've awakened in me the memory of love, but not yet the possibility for its renewal.
To know that you did love me is sufficient to understand that I still love you. And that love has a larger context beyond the two of us, namely, to do the will of my Father. And I was obedient, even to the point of death upon the cross. Your betrayal did not put me there. You can't take away from me what is truly mine.
Perhaps, but I'll always be remembered as the one who betrayed you. I had no explanation to give, no justification for my action. In fact, I regretted it immediately. But regret is a bitter tonic, and it never cures.
Betrayal is a transaction between two, the betrayer and the betrayed, with both having a certain power in the exchange. Your power, Judas, was to destroy the relationship. Mine is to preserve it.
The sun could have stood still, and the hours and minutes of that day slowed to an imperceptible crawl. Maybe there would have been time for me.
Do you really think that by taking your own life, you sealed your fate and plunged into the realm that God has forsaken? I have been to the God-forsaken place, Judas. It was on the cross, not in the black hole in your own soul. One death in a God-forsaken way is enough. I have died that death, and behold, I am alive.
You know, when I hear you now, I understand that my life was not one-dimensional. The door I closed has become transparent. I see, because of what you said, a different Judas on the other side of all this.
It's not enough to use my eyes, Judas. I have touched yours so that you may see yourself, and for yourself, that you are my friend.
I saw my guilt, but not the shame that blinded me and angered me. I confessed my sin of betrayal and threw the money back at their feet. But something in me cowered like a child caught stealing coins from the box for the poor.
You have discovered what many eyes have yet to see, that each failure is not merely an offense against God, but a loss of dignity and esteem for the self. Long before you met me, you wove a veil of shame to shield your eyes from the sight of that emaciated child.
Even in my betrayal of you, I sought to protect myself from the exposure through a too quick confession, as though I can merely undo a simple wrong. But I could not keep the shame from burning through and tormenting me to death, death on a tree. In the end, I crept within it.
And that is why I wanted to meet with you today.